The year was 323 BCE, the untimely death of Alexander the Great, conqueror of worlds and unifier of the Hellenic and Persian empires, plunged the ancient world into chaos. His empire, vast and unprecedented, stretched from the Aegean Sea to the Indus River, encompassing peoples and cultures as diverse as the gods themselves. Yet, for all its grandeur, Alexander's empire was precariously held together by his singular vision and indomitable will. When that will was snuffed out by fever in Babylon, his generals, known as the Diadochi, found themselves in a race for survival and supremacy. Among them stood Antigonus I Monophthalmus, the one-eyed, a man as cunning and ambitious as he was fearless. But even the greatest generals do not march alone. Behind Antigonus' rise to power was Stratonice, a woman whose name history often relegates to the margins but whose influence shaped the fate of nations. Born into the chaos of the late 4th century BCE, Stratonice was not a queen in the way most imagined. She did not command armies, nor did she sit at the head of councils. Instead, her strength lay in the softer, quieter realms of influence, the family, the court, and the delicate art of diplomacy. She was a wife, a mother, and above all, a strategist whose contributions to the Antigonid dynasty would ripple through history, even if they rarely bore her name. A world divided. To understand Stratonice's story, one must first understand the world she inhabited. Alexander's empire was not built to last. His failure to designate a clear successor left a power vacuum, and the ambitious generals who had once been his loyal companions soon turned on each other. The empire splintered into competing territories, each ruled by one of the Diadochi. Antigonus, stationed in Asia Minor, quickly emerged as one of the most formidable contenders, known for his towering physical presence and the loss of one eye in battle, an injury that only seemed to add to his mystique. Antigonus was a man of boundless ambition, yet even as Antigonus waged war to carve out his dominion, it was Stratonice who ensured that the home front remained secure. Born into an influential family, Stratonice brought not only noble lineage to her marriage but also a keen understanding of the political landscape. In a world where alliances could mean the difference between survival and annihilation, her marriage to Antigonus was as much a strategic partnership as it was a union of hearts. Together, they became a formidable team, with Stratonice navigating the intricate web of politics while Antigonus focused on the battlefield. The woman behind the general. Stratonice's early life remains shrouded in mystery. As is often the case with women of antiquity, she likely hailed from a noble Macedonian or Greek family, a background that would have prepared her for the demands of a political marriage. Her education, though not documented, would have included the traditional virtues expected of a woman of her station: managing a household, overseeing estates, and, perhaps most importantly, serving as a mediator and negotiator. In an era where kings and generals often found themselves besieged by enemies within their own courts, a queen's ability to maintain harmony was invaluable. From the moment she became Antigonus' wife, Stratonice embraced her role with a quiet determination. Her first and most important duty was to produce an heir, a task she fulfilled with the birth of Demetrius, later known as Poliorcetes, or the Besieger. But Stratonice's influence extended far beyond the nursery. She understood that the strength of a dynasty depended not only on military victories but also on the unity and loyalty of its members. To that end, she worked tirelessly to cultivate alliances, manage the royal household, and ensure that Antigonus' power base remained stable. The Wars of the Diadochi. As the Diadochi plunged the Hellenistic world into a series of brutal wars, Stratonice found herself at the center of a storm that threatened to engulf all of Greece and Asia Minor. Antigonus, ever the strategist, sought to expand his territory and consolidate his power, but his ambitions made him a target for the other generals. Ptolemy in Egypt, Seleucus in Babylon, Lysimachus in Thrace, and Cassander in Macedonia all formed alliances against him, determined to prevent any one man from claiming Alexander's mantle. While Antigonus fought on the battlefield, Stratonice waged a quieter, yet equally crucial, campaign. She managed the logistical and administrative challenges of maintaining a court in a time of war, ensuring that supplies, finances, and morale remained steady. She also played a key role in forging alliances through marriage, including those of her children. Stratonice understood that a well-placed marriage could turn a rival into an ally or at least ensure neutrality in a conflict. Mother of a future king. If Antigonus was the sword of the Antigonid dynasty, Stratonice was its shield. Nowhere was this more evident than in her relationship with her son, Demetrius. From a young age, Demetrius showed promise as a military leader, but it was Stratonice who ensured that he also understood the nuances of diplomacy and governance. She recognized that brute force alone would not sustain an empire. It required wisdom, patience, and the ability to inspire loyalty. Stratonice took an active role in her son's education, surrounding him with the best tutors and advisors. She also served as a model of resilience and adaptability, qualities that Demetrius would carry into his own reign. As he grew older, Demetrius came to rely on his mother's counsel, particularly during moments of crisis. In many ways, Stratonice's influence on Demetrius mirrored her partnership with Antigonus. She was the steadying force that allowed the men in her life to pursue their ambitions without losing sight of the bigger picture. A legacy in the shadows. Despite her many contributions, Stratonice's name rarely appears in the annals of history. The chroniclers of the Hellenistic age, almost exclusively male, tended to focus on the exploits of kings and generals, leaving little room for the women who shaped their destinies. Yet Stratonice's legacy endures in the success of the Antigonid dynasty, which would go on to rule Macedonia for generations. Her story is a testament to the often overlooked power of quiet influence and the vital role that women played in the ancient world. As we delve deeper into her life and the events that defined it, we will see that Stratonice was more than just a queen or a wife. She was a strategist, a diplomat, and a mother whose contributions to history deserve to be remembered. In a world dominated by war and ambition, she proved that strength could take many forms, and that sometimes the most powerful figures are those who operate behind the scenes. The marriage of Stratonice to Antigonus I Monophthalmus was a union that few could have predicted. Yet it would become a cornerstone of one of the most ambitious and tumultuous dynasties of the Hellenistic era. Their bond was not forged in the halls of romantic poetry, but rather in the crucible of political necessity and the relentless drive for survival that defined the era of the Diadochi, the generals and successors of Alexander the Great. Stratonice's origins, while obscured by the passage of time, suggest a lineage of significant stature. She was likely the daughter of a Macedonian or Greek noble family, one with ties to the military or administrative elite that had grown under the expansive conquests of Alexander. Her upbringing would have been steeped in the traditions of the Greek aristocracy, where women, though relegated to the domestic sphere, were often the silent architects of alliances and political stability. For a woman of Stratonice's position, marriage was less a personal choice and more a strategic maneuver, a way to bind families, secure wealth, and reinforce power. Antigonus, already a seasoned general in Alexander's campaigns, was not yet the one-eyed warrior of legend when he encountered Stratonice. In those years, he was a man defined by his ambition, a capable commander whose loyalty to Alexander had earned him control over vast territories in Asia Minor. But loyalty in the age of the Diadochi was a fragile thing, and as Alexander's empire crumbled after his death in 323 BCE, Antigonus found himself thrust into a deadly game of alliances and betrayals. To secure his position, he needed not only soldiers and wealth, but also the stability and legitimacy that came from a strong, noble family. Stratonice was his answer. Their marriage, arranged through careful negotiation, was more than a personal bond, it was a declaration of intent. By wedding Stratonice, Antigonus tied himself to her influential family, gaining allies in a world where every connection mattered. For Stratonice, The union was an opportunity to step into a role that would challenge her intellect and resolve. She would not be merely a wife. She would become a partner in her husband's ambitious vision. Their early years together were marked by uncertainty and strife. The wars of the Diadochi had erupted almost immediately after Alexander's death, as his generals scrambled to divide his empire among themselves. Antigonus, stationed in Phrygia, found himself in a precarious position, hemmed in by rival claimants and facing the constant threat of rebellion. Stratonice, thrust into this volatile environment, quickly proved her worth. As Antigonus campaigned across Asia Minor, Stratonice took charge of the home front. She managed the sprawling estates that supplied their army with food and resources, ensuring that their soldiers remained loyal and well-fed. She also served as a mediator within the court, smoothing over disputes and fostering loyalty among their allies. Her ability to navigate the complexities of court life, balancing the competing interests of generals, nobles, and administrators, was indispensable. Stratonice's influence extended beyond the practicalities of governance. She understood the importance of image and symbolism in a world where power often hinged on perception. While Antigonus was known for his gruff demeanor and no-nonsense approach to leadership, Stratonice cultivated an aura of grace and stability. She became a symbol of continuity and order, a figure who reassured their followers that Antigonus' rule was not merely the product of brute force but also a legitimate and enduring dynasty. Her most significant contribution during this period, however, was the birth of their son, Demetrius, in 337 BCE. In a world where dynastic succession was paramount, the arrival of a male heir was a moment of profound significance. For Antigonus, Demetrius represented the future of his ambitions, a continuation of his bloodline and a means to cement his claim to power. For Stratonice, he was both a source of personal joy and a responsibility that she took deeply to heart. As Demetrius grew, Stratonice took an active role in his upbringing, ensuring that he received the best education and training available. She recognized that her son's future would not be determined solely by his parentage, but also by his ability to lead and inspire. Under her guidance, Demetrius was exposed to the finest minds of the era, studying philosophy, rhetoric, and military strategy. Stratonice herself often counseled him, imparting the lessons she had learned from her own experiences in the volatile world of Hellenistic politics. The marriage between Stratonice and Antigonus, though rooted in pragmatism, evolved into a partnership of mutual respect. While Antigonus commanded armies and expanded their territory, Stratonice provided the stability and foresight that allowed his ambitions to flourish. Their bond was not without its challenges. The constant pressures of war and politics tested even the strongest relationships, but they shared a vision of a dynasty that would endure the chaos of the Diadochi Wars. As the 4th century BCE drew to a close, Antigonus' star began to rise. His military successes in Asia Minor and the Levant positioned him as one of the most powerful of Alexander's successors. Yet, with power came enemies, and the coalition of Diadochi that formed against him was as formidable as it was determined. Stratonice, ever the strategist, played a crucial role in navigating these treacherous waters. She worked tirelessly to maintain alliances, secure resources, and ensure that their family remained united in the face of external threats. By the time Antigonus declared himself king in 306 BCE, a bold move that marked a turning point in the Diadochi Wars, Stratonice had already proven herself as an indispensable partner in his rise to power. Her contributions, though often overlooked by history, were foundational to the success of the Antigonid dynasty. Through her intelligence, resilience, and unwavering dedication, she helped shape the course of events that would define the Hellenistic era. Their union, unlikely as it may have seemed, became a testament to the power of collaboration and the enduring impact of quiet influence. Stratonice's story, intertwined with that of her husband and son, was just beginning, but its significance was already undeniable. In the tumultuous world of the Diadochi, where armies clashed and empires rose and fell, Stratonice stood as a reminder that strength could take many forms, and that even in the shadows, greatness could be forged. The death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE was not merely the passing of a king. It was the detonation of a political bomb that shattered the ancient world. The empire he had carved from Greece to the edges of India, held together by his unmatched charisma and military genius, fractured almost instantly under the weight of its own enormity. Alexander's generals, the famed diadochi, each laid claim to a piece of his legacy, turning their swords not against foreign enemies but against one another in a relentless struggle for power. In this new, chaotic world, Stratonice found herself at the heart of events that would reshape history. Antigonus, her husband, was already a figure of renown. As one of Alexander's most trusted generals, he had been rewarded with the satrapy of Phrygia, a fertile and strategically critical region in Asia Minor. But with Alexander gone, the position of satrap was no longer one of service to a king. It was a throne in waiting. Antigonus, ever ambitious, quickly moved to consolidate his hold on the region, extending his influence across neighboring territories. This rise, however, did not come unopposed. Stratonice, though distant from the battlefields, was intimately involved in the early consolidation of their power. The world of the diadochi was not only one of military might but also one of diplomacy, intrigue, and negotiation. For every victory won with the sword, there was another secured through alliances and carefully worded agreements. Stratonice's role in this volatile period was one of quiet but critical importance. The first major challenge to Antigonus' position came in 321 BCE with the partition of Triparadisus, a council of the diadochi called to redistribute the empire after the collapse of the initial power-sharing agreement. To this gathering, Antigonus was confirmed in his satrapy but found himself increasingly at odds with other powerful figures, particularly Eumenes, a former secretary of Alexander who had proven himself a formidable general. The seeds of conflict were sown, and Stratonice, watching events unfold, began to prepare for the storm to come. In the years that followed, the Antigonid court became a hub of activity as Antigonus transformed from a regional governor into a king in all but name. Stratonice, understanding the precariousness of their position, worked to strengthen their alliances. She arranged marriages between members of their extended family and influential nobles, binding them closer to the Antigonid cause. She also played a key role in managing the logistics of their expanding domain, overseeing the distribution of resources and ensuring that the loyalty of their subjects was maintained. Stratonice's influence extended to the army as well. While she did not command troops, her presence was felt in the ranks through the loyalty she inspired among Antigonus officers. She was known for her generosity and her willingness to listen to the concerns of soldiers and administrators alike. This ability to connect with people on a personal level made her a beloved figure within the Antigonid camp, and her support often proved critical during moments of crisis. One such crisis came in 317 BCE, when Eumenes, now a rival satrap, launched a campaign against Antigonus. The conflict, known as the Wars of the Successors, pitted the two generals against each other in a series of battles that would determine the fate of Asia Minor. While Antigonus led his armies in the field, Stratonice remained behind, managing the logistical and political aspects of the war. Her efforts ensured that Antigonus had the supplies and reinforcements he needed to achieve victory. The climactic moment of the struggle came at the Battle of Gabiene in 316 BCE, where Antigonus decisively defeated Eumenes and cemented his position as the dominant power in the region. This victory, however, was not merely a product of battlefield tactics. It was also a testament to the stability and unity of the Antigonid administration, a unity that Stratonice had worked tirelessly to maintain. As Antigonus' power grew, so too did the challenges he faced. The other diadochi, alarmed by his rising influence, began to form alliances against him. Ptolemy in Egypt, Seleucus in Babylon, Lysimachus in Thrace, and Cassander in Macedonia all saw Antigonus as a threat to their own ambitions. Stratonice, aware of the precariousness of their position, redoubled her efforts to secure allies and resources. One of Stratonice's most notable achievements during this period was her role in the administration of cities within Antigonus' domain. Unlike many rulers who relied solely on force to maintain control, Stratonice understood the importance of winning the loyalty of their subjects. She encouraged policies that promoted economic growth and stability, ensuring that the cities under their rule flourished. This approach not only strengthened Antigonus' power base but also helped to legitimize his rule in the eyes of the broader population. By the turn of the century, Antigonus was no longer content to be a satrap or even a regional power. He began to style himself as a king, a move that would provoke open conflict with the other diadochi. Stratonice, ever pragmatic, supported this ambition but urged caution, knowing that the title of king would bring not only prestige but also increased scrutiny and hostility. The declaration of kingship came in 306 BCE, following Antigonus' victory over Ptolemy at the Battle of Salamis in Cyprus. This victory, one of the most significant of the Diadochi Wars, allowed Antigonus to proclaim himself king of Asia. Stratonice, now queen in title as well as in practice, embraced her new role with characteristic grace. She understood that their position, though powerful, was far from secure, and she continued to work tirelessly to maintain the stability of their realm. As the Antigonid dynasty entered this new phase, Stratonice's influence became even more critical. The declaration of kingship marked a turning point not only in their own story but also in the broader history of the Hellenistic world. The title of king was no longer reserved for the descendants of Alexander or the ancient dynasties of Egypt and Persia. It was now a prize to be claimed by those who could seize and hold power. For Stratonice, this new world of chaos and opportunity was both a challenge and an opportunity. She had proven herself as a queen of war, a woman capable of navigating the treacherous waters of Hellenistic politics. Now, as the Antigonid dynasty reached the height of its power, she would face her greatest test yet, preserving the legacy she and Antigonus had built in the face of growing opposition. By the time Antigonus declared himself king in 306 BCE, his domain spanned a significant portion of Alexander's fragmented empire. This was no small feat in a world dominated by war and shifting alliances. Survival itself was an accomplishment, let alone the consolidation of power on such a scale. For all his military brilliance, however, Antigonus' success was as much a testament to the political and domestic stability created by Stratonice as it was to his victories on the battlefield. Stratonice's role in this foundational period was multifaceted. She was not merely the queen of a burgeoning empire. She was the linchpin of its cohesion. The early years of Antigonus' reign as king were fraught with challenges. From managing a sprawling territory with diverse populations to fending off the coalitions of diadochi determined to destroy his ambitions. Amid this turmoil, Stratonice became a critical figure in maintaining the unity and stability of the Antigonid realm. A diplomatic queen, Stratonice's influence extended far beyond the walls of their court. In the highly volatile world of the Hellenistic kingdoms, diplomacy was often as important as military strength. Stratonice, with her deep understanding of politics and human nature, excelled in this arena. Her correspondence with other courts, often conducted through envoys and intermediaries, helped to secure critical alliances that ensured the survival of the Antigonid dynasty. One of her most significant achievements during this period was her role in arranging strategic marriages. In an age where marriage was a key tool of diplomacy, Stratonice's keen eye for potential allies proved invaluable. She orchestrated unions between members of the Antigonid family and influential nobles, strengthening their ties to local power brokers and reducing the likelihood of rebellion. These marriages were not merely political arrangements. They were carefully calculated moves designed to integrate the Antigonid dynasty into the broader fabric of the Hellenistic world. Stratonice's skills were not limited to forging alliances. She was also adept at maintaining them. The Antigonid court, like any center of power, was rife with intrigue and competing interests. Generals, administrators, and nobles all vied for influence, and the potential for division was ever present. Stratonice, with her diplomatic acumen and empathetic demeanor, served as a mediator within the court. She smoothed over disputes, resolved conflicts, and ensured that the machinery of governance continued to function smoothly, building the Antigonid court. While Antigonus focused on expanding his territory and defending his borders, Stratonice took charge of the domestic sphere. She recognized that the strength of a kingdom lay not only in its armies but also in its institutions. Under her guidance, the Antigonid court was transformed into a model of efficiency and stability. She implemented administrative reforms that streamlined the collection of taxes and the management of resources, ensuring that the kingdom's finances remained robust. Stratonice also placed a strong emphasis on education and culture. She understood that a prosperous and stable society required more than just material wealth. It required a sense of identity and pride. To this end, she patronized scholars, artists, and philosophers, fostering a cultural renaissance within the Antigonid realm. The court became a hub of intellectual activity, attracting some of the brightest minds of the era. This not only enhanced the prestige of the Antigonid dynasty, but also helped to create a sense of unity and purpose among its diverse subjects. The legacy of stability. Stratonice's contributions to the Antigonid dynasty were perhaps most evident in the loyalty of its subjects. In an era where rebellions and uprisings were common, the relative stability of the Antigonid realm was remarkable. Much of this can be attributed to Stratonice's efforts to build a sense of trust and goodwill among the population. Her policies were not merely about maintaining order. They were about creating a society where people felt invested in the success of the kingdom. One notable example of this was her approach to governance in the cities of Asia Minor. Unlike many rulers who sought to dominate their subjects through fear and oppression, Stratonice encouraged a more collaborative approach. She supported the establishment of local councils and allowed cities a degree of autonomy in their internal affairs. This not only reduced the administrative burden on the central government, but also fostered a sense of partnership between the cities and the Antigonid court. Stratonice's influence was also evident in the military. While she did not command troops, her presence was felt in the loyalty and morale of Antigonus soldiers. She frequently visited military camps, offering encouragement and support to the troops. Her presence was a reminder of the stability and unity that the Antigonid dynasty represented, and her ability to connect with people on a personal level made her a beloved figure among the rank and file. A vision for the future. As the Antigonid dynasty entered its second decade, Stratonice began to focus on the future. She understood that the stability they had built was only as strong as the people who would inherit it. Her son, Demetrius, was already emerging as a capable leader, but Stratonice knew that his success would depend on more than just his military prowess. She worked tirelessly to prepare him for the challenges that lay ahead, ensuring that he received the education and mentorship needed to navigate the complex world of Hellenistic politics. Stratonice also began to think about the broader legacy of the Antigonid dynasty. She envisioned a kingdom that would endure not just for decades but for centuries, a realm that would stand as a testament to the vision and determination of its founders. To this end, she encouraged policies that promoted economic growth, cultural development, and social cohesion. Her vision was not merely about survival. It was about creating a dynasty that would leave a lasting mark on history. The rising tide of conflict. Despite the stability and success they had achieved, the Antigonid dynasty was not immune to the challenges of the age. The other diadochi, alarmed by Antigonus' growing power, continued to plot against him. Ptolemy, Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Cassander formed alliances and launched campaigns designed to weaken the Antigonid position. Stratonice, aware of the precariousness of their situation, worked tirelessly to counter these threats. One of the most significant challenges came in 305 BCE when Ptolemy launched a naval campaign aimed at disrupting Antigonus' control of the Aegean. Stratonice played a key role in coordinating the defense of their coastal cities, ensuring that supplies and reinforcements were sent to where they were needed most. Her efforts helped to secure critical victories that preserved Antigonus' dominance in the region. As the wars of the Diadochi entered a new phase, Stratonice's role became even more critical. The foundation of power she had helped to build would be tested as never before, and her ability to adapt and persevere would determine not only the survival of the Antigonid dynasty but also its place in history. The birth of Demetrius, later known as Poliorcetes, the Besieger, was a pivotal moment not only for Stratonice and Antigonus but for the very fabric of their dynasty. In the volatile world of the Diadochi, where empires rose and fell with the stroke of a sword, the presence of a strong heir was more than a matter of familial pride. It was a necessity for survival. Stratonice understood this better than most, and from the moment of Demetrius' birth, she committed herself to raising a son who would not only inherit his father's ambitions but surpass them. Demetrius was born into a world of constant conflict, where his cradle was surrounded by maps of contested territories, and the air he breathed carried the weight of impending battles. From the earliest days, Stratonice was keenly aware that her son's upbringing would need to prepare him for a life defined by power struggles and warfare. Yet she also believed that, to be a great leader, Demetrius needed more than military skill. He needed wisdom, resilience, and the ability to inspire loyalty. Stratonice's role in her son's education began with her careful selection of his tutors and mentors, drawing from the wealth of intellectual talent that surrounded the Antigonid court. She ensured that Demetrius was exposed to the best minds of the age. He studied philosophy with disciples of Aristotle, rhetoric with skilled orators, and military strategy with veterans of Alexander's campaigns. Stratonice herself often supervised his lessons, impressing upon him the importance of discipline and curiosity. She believed that knowledge was as much a weapon as the sword, and she encouraged Demetrius to seek wisdom in all things. Yet Stratonice's influence on her son went far beyond his formal education. She was determined to instill in him a sense of moral responsibility and an understanding of the burdens of leadership. She often spoke to him about the challenges she and Antigonus had faced in building their dynasty, recounting stories of sacrifice, perseverance, and the delicate balance of power. These lessons were not just about the past. They were about the future Demetrius would one day inherit. As Demetrius grew older, Stratonice began to involve him more directly in the affairs of the court. She encouraged him to observe the intricacies of governance, from the management of resources to the negotiation of alliances. At her urging, Antigonus began to include Demetrius in his military campaigns, giving him first-hand experience of the battlefield. Stratonice understood that leadership could not be taught solely through books or lectures. It had to be lived. One of the most significant moments in Demetrius' early life came in 312 BCE, when he was entrusted with his first independent command at the age of 22. Tasked with defending the Antigonid territories in Syria against the forces of Ptolemy, Demetrius faced a trial by fire. Stratonice, though deeply worried for her son, did not waver in her support. She knew that this was a crucial step in his development as a leader, and she offered him encouragement and counsel as he prepared for the campaign. The resulting Battle of Gaza was a humbling experience for Demetrius. Despite his best efforts, he was defeated by Ptolemy's more experienced forces. Yet it was in the aftermath of this loss that Stratonice's influence on her son became most apparent. Rather than chastise him for his failure, she consoled him and emphasized the lessons he could learn from the experience. She reminded him that even the greatest leaders, including his father and Alexander the Great, had faced setbacks in their careers. What mattered, she told him, was how he responded to adversity. This moment of maternal guidance proved pivotal for Demetrius. Rather than becoming discouraged, he redoubled his efforts to improve as a commander and leader. Stratonice's unwavering belief in his potential gave him the confidence to persevere. And within a year, He had redeemed himself with a series of victories that restored the Antigonid position in the region. As Demetrius matured, his relationship with Stratonice evolved from that of a child and his mother to that of a trusted advisor and confidant. He came to value her wisdom and insight, often seeking her counsel on matters of strategy and diplomacy. Stratonice, for her part, was careful to balance her role as a guide with her respect for Demetrius' growing independence. She understood that to truly lead, he needed to make his own decisions and learn from his own mistakes. Stratonice's influence on Demetrius extended beyond the practicalities of leadership. She also played a key role in shaping his character and values. She encouraged him to be generous and just, to treat his subjects with fairness, and to always consider the long-term consequences of his actions. While Antigonus instilled in Demetrius the qualities of a warrior, Stratonice nurtured the qualities of a statesman. By the time Demetrius reached his late 20s, he had become a formidable figure in his own right. His charisma, intelligence, and military prowess had earned him the loyalty of his father's generals and the admiration of his troops. Yet he remained deeply connected to his mother, whose guidance continued to shape his decisions and actions. One of the most dramatic examples of Stratonice's influence on Demetrius came during the Siege of Rhodes in 305 BCE. This campaign, one of the most famous of the Hellenistic period, saw Demetrius leading an immense force against the fortified island city of Rhodes, which had allied itself with Ptolemy. The siege was a monumental undertaking, requiring not only military ingenuity but also immense resources and careful planning. Stratonice played a crucial role in supporting Demetrius during this campaign. She coordinated the logistical efforts needed to sustain the siege, ensuring that supplies and reinforcements flowed steadily to the front lines. She also served as a source of emotional support for her son, offering him encouragement during moments of doubt and frustration. Her unwavering belief in his abilities gave Demetrius the confidence to persevere through the challenges of the campaign. The Siege of Rhodes ultimately ended in a negotiated settlement, with Demetrius gaining significant concessions from the Rhodians while allowing them to retain their independence. While the campaign did not achieve its ultimate objective of subjugating the city, it solidified Demetrius' reputation as one of the most innovative and determined commanders of his time. For Stratonice, the campaign was a testament to her son's growth as a leader and a validation of the years she had spent preparing him for such challenges. As the Antigonid dynasty continued to expand its influence, Demetrius emerged as a central figure in its ambitions. Yet throughout his rise, Stratonice remained a constant presence in his life, a steadying force amid the chaos of the Hellenistic world. Her guidance and support were instrumental in shaping him into the leader he would become, and her influence would continue to resonate throughout his career. By the time Demetrius was crowned king alongside his father in 306 BCE, it was clear that Stratonice's efforts had borne fruit. She had raised a son who was not only a capable warrior but also a charismatic and visionary leader. Her role in his development was a testament to her wisdom, resilience, and unwavering dedication to her family. In a world where power was often measured in terms of armies and territories, Stratonice's legacy lay in the strength of the son she had nurtured and the dynasty she had helped to build. The proclamation of kingship by Antigonus and Demetrius in 306 BCE was more than a political statement. It was a declaration of intent, a bold claim to the legacy of Alexander the Great and a challenge to every other ruler in the fractured Hellenistic world. For Stratonice, this marked the beginning of a new phase in her life. She was no longer just the wife of a powerful satrap or the mother of a promising heir. She was now queen of an empire in the making, with all the responsibilities and challenges that entailed. Stratonice embraced her new role with a mixture of determination and pragmatism. She understood that the title of queen came with expectations, not only from within the court but also from the broader population of the Antigonid realm. In a world where legitimacy and perception were as important as military might, Stratonice's ability to project an image of stability, grace, and authority became a key component of the dynasty's success. From the grand halls of their court to the farthest reaches of their territory, Stratonice worked tirelessly to ensure that the Antigonid dynasty was seen as a beacon of order and prosperity. She oversaw the expansion of their administrative apparatus, ensuring that the newly proclaimed kingdom could effectively govern its diverse and far-flung territories. This was no small task, as the Antigonid realm encompassed a wide range of cultures, languages, and traditions. Stratonice's ability to bridge these divides, to find common ground and foster a sense of unity, was one of her greatest strengths. At the heart of Stratonice's vision for the empire was the idea of inclusivity. She believed that the success of the Antigonid dynasty depended on its ability to integrate the many peoples under its rule into a cohesive whole. To this end, she supported policies that promoted cultural exchange and mutual respect. Temples and public buildings were constructed in cities across the realm, blending Greek architectural styles with local traditions. Festivals and ceremonies were organized to celebrate the diversity of the empire, creating a sense of shared identity that transcended regional differences. Stratonice's efforts extended to the economic sphere as well. She recognized that prosperity was a powerful tool for securing loyalty, and she worked to ensure that the Antigonid territories thrived. Trade routes were secured and expanded, bringing wealth and goods from across the Mediterranean and beyond. Agricultural production was encouraged through investments in infrastructure, such as irrigation systems and storage facilities. These initiatives not only strengthened the kingdom's economy, but also improved the lives of its citizens, fostering goodwill and loyalty toward the ruling dynasty. Within the court, Stratonice's influence was equally profound. As queen, she became a central figure in the complex web of relationships that defined the Antigonid power structure. She cultivated alliances with key figures, both within the court and among the broader aristocracy, ensuring that the dynasty's support base remained strong. Her ability to navigate the often treacherous waters of court politics was unmatched, and her presence was a stabilizing force in a time of constant upheaval. One of Stratonice's most significant contributions to the Antigonid court was her role as a patron of the arts and sciences. She believed that the cultivation of knowledge and culture was not only a mark of a great kingdom, but also a means of reinforcing its legitimacy. Under her patronage, the court became a center of intellectual activity, attracting scholars, poets, and artists from across the Hellenistic world. Libraries were established, and great works of literature and philosophy were commissioned, ensuring that the Antigonid legacy would endure not only through its military conquests but also through its cultural achievements. Stratonice's commitment to cultural and intellectual development extended to her personal relationships as well. She maintained correspondence with some of the leading thinkers of the age, engaging in discussions on philosophy, governance, and the nature of power. These interactions not only enriched her own understanding but also reinforced the image of the Antigonid court as a hub of enlightenment and progress. As the queen of a growing empire, Stratonice faced challenges that would have overwhelmed a lesser figure. The declaration of kingship had not only elevated the Antigonid dynasty but also painted a target on its back. The other diadochi, alarmed by the boldness of Antigonus and Demetrius, redoubled their efforts to bring them down. Stratonice, ever the strategist, played a key role in preparing the kingdom for the conflicts to come. One of her most important contributions during this period was her work in strengthening the kingdom's defenses. She oversaw the construction of fortifications in key cities and along critical trade routes, ensuring that the Antigonid realm could withstand external threats. She also worked to improve the efficiency of the kingdom's supply lines, ensuring that its armies could be sustained during long campaigns. Stratonice's ability to manage the logistical and administrative challenges of empire building was complemented by her talent for diplomacy. She maintained a network of contacts across the Hellenistic world, using her influence to secure alliances and mitigate potential threats. Her efforts were instrumental in preventing the formation of a united front against the Antigonid dynasty, buying time for Antigonus and Demetrius to consolidate their power. Yet Stratonice's role as queen was not limited to the practicalities of governance and diplomacy. She was also a symbol of the Antigonid dynasty, a figure who embodied its values and aspirations. Her grace, intelligence, and dedication inspired loyalty and admiration among the kingdom's subjects, reinforcing the legitimacy of the dynasty's rule. In a time of constant upheaval, she represented stability and continuity, a reminder that the Antigonid realm was more than just a collection of territories. It was a kingdom with a vision for the future. As the Antigonid dynasty entered the height of its power, Stratonice's contributions became increasingly apparent. She had helped to lay the foundation for an empire that spanned continents. Blending military strength with cultural and economic prosperity, her vision for the kingdom, one that embraced diversity and fostered unity, had transformed the Antigonid realm into a model of Hellenistic governance. Yet, for all her achievements, Stratonice remained acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. The Hellenistic world was a volatile and unpredictable place, where the fortunes of kings could change in an instant. She knew that the true test of the Antigonid dynasty was yet to come and that her role as queen was far from over. As Stratonice looked to the future, she saw both promise and peril. The kingdom she had helped to build was a testament to the resilience and determination of her family, but it was also a fragile creation, vulnerable to the ambitions of its rivals. In the years to come, Stratonice would face new challenges that would test her resolve and redefine her legacy. Yet she remained steadfast, guided by the same unwavering commitment that had brought her this far. The story of Stratonice and the Antigonid dynasty was still unfolding, and its next chapter would be written in the crucible of conflict and ambition. Through it all, Stratonice would remain a constant presence, a queen whose quiet strength and enduring vision would shape the destiny of her family and her kingdom. The Antigonid dynasty reached its zenith of power with the proclamation of kingship, but the declaration cast a long shadow over the Hellenistic world. Rivals who had once vied for dominance in fragmented struggles now found a common enemy in Antigonus and Demetrius. Stratonice, ever perceptive, saw the storm clouds gathering long before the first blows were struck. Her insight into the political landscape and her ability to navigate the treacherous waters of diplomacy became more vital than ever as the Antigonid dynasty braced itself for the conflict to come. War was a constant presence in the Hellenistic age, but the scale of the opposition against the Antigonid dynasty was unprecedented. The other diadochi, Seleucus, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Cassander formed a coalition to check Antigonus' growing power. Their combined forces posed an existential threat, and Stratonice knew that the stakes were nothing less than the survival of her family and the kingdom they had built. From the outset, Stratonice played a crucial role in preparing the kingdom for the conflict. She worked tirelessly to ensure that Antigonus' armies were well supplied and that the kingdom's defenses were reinforced. Her efforts extended beyond the logistical. She also sought to maintain morale among the kingdom's subjects and soldiers, knowing that unity and resolve would be as important as swords and shields in the battles to come. Stratonice's diplomatic acumen was on full display during this period. She leveraged her extensive network of contacts to gather intelligence on the coalition's movements and intentions. Through envoys and intermediaries, she sought to exploit divisions among the coalition members, sowing seeds of mistrust and hesitation. Her efforts did not always succeed. The rivalries among the diadochi were fierce, but their shared fear of Antigonus often overrode their differences. Still, Stratonice's attempts to weaken the coalition's resolve bought valuable time for the Antigonid dynasty to prepare for the inevitable confrontation. The war that followed was a series of grueling campaigns that tested the limits of the Antigonid dynasty's resources and resolve. Antigonus and Demetrius, leading their armies on multiple fronts, relied heavily on Stratonice to manage the home front. She became the anchor that allowed them to focus on the battlefield, ensuring that the kingdom's administrative machinery continued to function smoothly despite the chaos of war. One of Stratonice's most remarkable achievements during this period was her ability to maintain the loyalty of the kingdom's diverse population. The Antigonid realm encompassed a wide range of cultures and communities, each with its own interests and grievances. In times of crisis, Such divisions could easily erupt into rebellion or unrest. But Stratonice's careful governance and emphasis on inclusivity helped to prevent such disruptions. She worked closely with local leaders and representatives, addressing their concerns and fostering a sense of shared purpose. Her efforts ensured that the kingdom remained stable even as it faced external threats. The conflict reached its climax at the Battle of Ipsus in 301 BCE, a monumental engagement that would determine the fate of the Hellenistic world. The coalition, fielding a massive army supported by war elephants and experienced commanders, confronted Antigonus and Demetrius on the plains of central Anatolia. Stratonice, though far from the battlefield, was acutely aware of the stakes. She had spent months preparing for this moment, ensuring that her family's forces were as well-equipped and supported as possible. The battle itself was a brutal and chaotic affair, marked by strategic brilliance and devastating losses. Antigonus, despite his age, fought with the same determination that had defined his career. Demetrius, commanding a significant portion of the army, displayed his trademark audacity and skill. Yet the coalition's overwhelming numbers and coordinated tactics ultimately proved too much. Antigonus fell in the battle, his death marking the end of an era and the shattering of the Antigonid dream of unifying Alexander's empire. For Stratonice, the news of Antigonus' death was a devastating blow. She had shared his vision and had worked tirelessly to support his ambitions, only to see them undone in a single day. Yet, even in the face of this unimaginable loss, Stratonice did not falter. Her focus shifted immediately to the survival of her family and the preservation of their legacy. She knew that Demetrius, now the head of the dynasty, would need her more than ever. In the aftermath of Ipsus, Stratonice took on the role of a stabilizing force in the midst of chaos. She worked to rally the remnants of the Antigonid forces and to secure the loyalty of their allies. Her efforts were instrumental in preventing a complete collapse of the dynasty's power. Under her guidance, Demetrius regrouped and began to rebuild, using the resources and territories that remained under their control. Stratonice's relationship with Demetrius deepened during this period of rebuilding. She became his most trusted advisor, offering counsel on matters of strategy and governance. Her experience and wisdom provided a counterbalance to Demetrius' bold and often impulsive nature. Together, they navigated the treacherous landscape of post-Ipsus politics, forging new alliances and reclaiming lost territory. One of Stratonice's most notable contributions during this period was her role in fostering unity within the Antigonid camp. The loss at Ipsus had created divisions among their supporters, with some questioning the viability of the dynasty's ambitions. Stratonice, through her diplomacy and personal connections, worked to heal these rifts and to inspire renewed loyalty among their followers. Her ability to connect with people on a personal level, to understand their concerns and aspirations, was a key factor in the Antigonid dynasty's survival. As the years passed, Stratonice continued to play a central role in the Antigonid dynasty's efforts to regain its former glory. She oversaw the rebuilding of their administrative and military infrastructure, ensuring that the kingdom remained resilient in the face of ongoing challenges. Her vision for the dynasty, one that prioritized stability and inclusivity, remained a guiding principle in their policies and actions. Despite the hardships they faced, Stratonice never wavered in her commitment to her family and their legacy. She remained a source of strength and inspiration for Demetrius, whose own ambitions and achievements were deeply shaped by her influence. Together, they continued to write the story of the Antigonid dynasty, a story defined by resilience, determination, and the enduring power of hope. The shadow of war, though ever present, could not extinguish the light that Stratonice brought to her family and her kingdom. Her legacy as a queen, a mother, and a strategist would endure long after the battles were over, a testament to the quiet strength that had sustained the Antigonid dynasty through its darkest hours. The Battle of Ipsus in 301 BCE marked a turning point for the Antigonid dynasty. Antigonus I Monophthalmus, the indomitable patriarch of the family, lay dead on the battlefield, his ambitious dream of reuniting Alexander the Great's empire shattered. For Stratonice, the loss was both deeply personal and profoundly political. She had spent decades by Antigonus' side, not only as his wife but also as his confidant, advisor, and partner in the grand enterprise of empire building. Now, with her husband gone and the dynasty in disarray, she faced the daunting task of salvaging what remained of their legacy. The aftermath of Ipsus was a chaotic and uncertain time for the Antigonid dynasty. The coalition of Diadochi, Seleucus, Lysimachus, Ptolemy, and Cassander divided the spoils of war among themselves, carving up Antigonus' once expansive territory. Demetrius, Stratonice's son, managed to escape the battlefield with a portion of the army, but his position was precarious. Stratonice, though devastated by her husband's death, quickly rose to the occasion, rallying the remnants of their court and working to secure a future for her family. Stratonice's first priority was to stabilize their remaining holdings and ensure the loyalty of their allies. The loss at Ipsus had shaken the confidence of many who had supported the Antigonid cause, and there was a real danger of defections or rebellions. Stratonice, with her deep understanding of diplomacy and human nature, worked tirelessly to reassure their supporters and to rebuild trust. She leveraged her personal relationships with influential figures, reminding them of the benefits they had enjoyed under Antigonid rule and appealing to their sense of honor and loyalty. At the same time, Stratonice focused on rebuilding the administrative and logistical infrastructure of their diminished kingdom. She knew that the Antigonid dynasty's survival depended on its ability to maintain order and project strength. Even in the face of adversity, under her guidance, the court became a center of activity, with officials working to restore the flow of resources and to reorganize the military. Stratonice's leadership during this period was characterized by a combination of pragmatism and vision, as she balanced the immediate needs of the dynasty with a long-term strategy for recovery. One of the most remarkable aspects of Stratonice's response to the crisis was her ability to maintain unity within the Antigonid family. The loss of Antigonus had created tensions among the surviving members of the dynasty, with differing opinions on how best to proceed. Stratonice, through her wisdom and emotional intelligence, acted as a mediator, ensuring that these disagreements did not escalate into open conflict. Her efforts to foster a sense of shared purpose and mutual support within the family were crucial in preserving their cohesion during this turbulent time. As Demetrius took on the mantle of leadership, Stratonice became his most trusted advisor. She understood that her son, though a brilliant military commander, needed guidance in navigating the complex and treacherous world of Hellenistic politics. Stratonice provided him with the benefit of her experience, helping him to chart a course that balanced bold ambition with careful calculation. Her counsel was particularly valuable as Demetrius sought to rebuild his power base and to reclaim the Antigonid dynasty's place on the stage of history. Demetrius' first major undertaking in the wake of Ipsus was the consolidation of his control over the Aegean and parts of Greece. He used his naval superiority to establish a foothold in these regions, offering protection and stability to cities that aligned with him. Stratonice, ever the diplomat, played a key role in these efforts, working to win the loyalty of local leaders and to secure alliances. Her ability to connect with people on a personal level and to inspire confidence in the Antigonid cause was a critical asset during this period of rebuilding. The years following Ipsus were marked by a series of dramatic reversals of fortune for the Antigonid dynasty. Demetrius achieved notable successes, including his capture of Athens and his eventual ascension to the throne of Macedonia in 294 BCE. Yet these victories were often accompanied by setbacks, as the other Diadochi continued to view the Antigonids as a threat and worked to undermine their efforts. Through it all, Stratonice remained a steadying presence, providing support and guidance to her son and helping to navigate the challenges that arose. One of the most challenging aspects of this period for Stratonice was the growing strain between Demetrius and the other members of the family. As Demetrius' ambitions grew, so too did his tendency to act independently, sometimes at the expense of the broader interests of the dynasty. Stratonice, deeply committed to the unity of her family, worked tirelessly to bridge these divides and to ensure that the Antigonids remained a cohesive force. Her ability to mediate and to foster understanding among her children and their allies was a testament to her skill as a leader and her devotion as a mother. Despite her best efforts, the Antigonid dynasty faced mounting pressures that would eventually lead to its temporary collapse. In 287 BCE, Demetrius was forced to flee Macedonia after a coalition of his enemies, led by Lysimachus and Pyrrhus of Epirus, invaded the kingdom. Stratonice, now in her later years, once again found herself in the role of a stabilizing force, working to rally what remained of their supporters and to chart a path forward. The final years of Stratonice's life were marked by both reflection and resilience. She had witnessed the rise and fall of an empire, the triumphs and tragedies of her family, and the relentless ebb and flow of fortune that defined the Hellenistic world. Yet through it all, she remained committed to the ideals that had guided her from the beginning: loyalty to her family, dedication to the well-being of her people, and a belief in the enduring power of unity and resilience. Stratonice's death, though unrecorded in detail, marked the end of an era for the Antigonid dynasty. Her legacy, however, lived on through her children and the dynasty she had helped to build. The Antigonids would eventually reclaim the throne of Macedonia under the leadership of her grandson, Antigonus II Gonatas, ensuring that the name of Stratonice would not be forgotten. Her story, one of quiet strength and unwavering determination, remains a testament to the power of resilience in the face of adversity. In a world dominated by kings and generals, Stratonice stood as a reminder that the foundations of power are often laid by those who work behind the scenes, shaping the course of history through their vision, wisdom, and unyielding resolve. With the passing of Stratonice's era, the Antigonid dynasty faced a critical juncture. The ambitions and resilience of her son, Demetrius I Poliorcetes, became the driving force behind the family's survival. Though scarred by the devastating defeat at Ipsus and the loss of his father, Demetrius was far from defeated. His mother's guidance, values, and enduring influence shaped him into a leader who was determined to restore the glory of the Antigonid dynasty. Demetrius had learned from Stratonice that survival required a balance of strength, diplomacy, and adaptability. These lessons would serve him well in the years following the collapse of Antigonus' empire. From the ashes of defeat, Demetrius embarked on a relentless campaign to rebuild his family's power, carving out a legacy that would rival even his father's. The period following Ipsus was marked by a series of calculated moves by Demetrius to reassert his authority in the Hellenistic world. The Antigonid cause was far from lost. They retained control of a powerful navy and several fortified cities in Greece and the Aegean. Demetrius' first task was to consolidate these assets and establish a stable power base from which to launch his campaigns. This effort was as much about perception as it was about practical power. Demetrius needed to demonstrate that the Antigonid dynasty remained a force to be reckoned with. The return to Greece. Demetrius' first major success came in Greece, where he sought to position himself as a liberator of the Greek cities from the influence of other Hellenistic powers. He capitalized on his reputation as a brilliant military commander and the goodwill generated by his earlier campaigns in the region. Cities such as Athens, which had a history of aligning with the Antigonids, welcomed his return with open arms. In Athens, Demetrius was celebrated as a hero and savior, a role he embraced with characteristic flair. The city granted him divine honors, erecting statues and dedicating temples in his name. While some of these gestures were genuine expressions of gratitude, others were calculated political moves to secure favor with a powerful figure. Demetrius, aware of the importance of public image, used these opportunities to solidify his position and to present himself as a legitimate ruler. Stratonice's teachings about fostering loyalty and unity were evident in Demetrius' approach to governance. He worked to strengthen the economic and cultural ties between Athens and the other cities under his control, fostering a sense of shared identity and purpose. His policies emphasized infrastructure development, trade, and cultural patronage, creating a foundation of stability that would support his broader ambitions. The Siege of Rhodes revisited. While consolidating his hold on Greece, Demetrius turned his attention to unfinished business, the island city of Rhodes. Years earlier, he had besieged the city in a campaign that earned him the epithet Poliorcetes, or the besieger, though that siege had ended in a negotiated settlement. Rhodes remained a symbol of resistance and a thorn in the side of Antigonid ambitions. In a calculated move, Demetrius sought to reassert his dominance over the Aegean by renewing his campaign against Rhodes. This time, however, he employed a combination of diplomacy and force, seeking to isolate the city from its allies while applying pressure through naval blockades. While the campaign was ultimately inconclusive, it demonstrated Demetrius' determination and strategic acumen. More importantly, the renewed conflict with Rhodes served as a reminder of the challenges facing the Antigonid dynasty. The coalition of rival diadochi remained a constant threat, and Demetrius knew that his path to restoring the dynasty's glory would be fraught with obstacles. Yet he remained undeterred, driven by the legacy of his parents and the belief that the Antigonids had a rightful place among the great powers of the Hellenistic world. The crown of Macedonia. Demetrius' most significant achievement during this period was his ascension to the throne of Macedonia in 294 BCE. The death of Cassander, one of the original diadochi, had plunged the Macedonian kingdom into a period of instability. With rival claimants vying for power, Demetrius, recognizing an opportunity, launched a campaign to seize control of the kingdom. The campaign was a testament to Demetrius' military and political prowess. He skillfully navigated the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined the Macedonian court, using a combination of force and diplomacy to achieve his objectives. His claim to the throne was bolstered by his lineage as the son of Antigonus and his reputation as a capable leader. Once on the throne, Demetrius faced the daunting task of stabilizing Macedonia and integrating it into the Antigonid domain. The kingdom, though rich in resources and military tradition, was plagued by internal divisions and external threats. Demetrius drew on the lessons of his upbringing, particularly the emphasis on inclusivity and unity that Stratonice had instilled in him. He worked to reconcile competing factions within the kingdom and to strengthen its institutions, laying the groundwork for a stable and prosperous reign. The strain of ambition. Despite his successes, Demetrius' reign was not without its challenges. His ambitious nature, while a source of strength, also led to conflicts with his allies and subjects. Demetrius' pursuit of ever greater power sometimes alienated those around him, creating tensions that threatened to undermine his achievements. Stratonice's absence was keenly felt during these moments, as her steadying influence and ability to mediate conflicts had been a crucial factor in the dynasty's earlier stability. One of the most significant challenges came in the form of renewed opposition from the other diadochi. Seleucus, Ptolemy, Lysimachus, and Pyrrhus of Epirus all viewed Demetrius as a threat to their own ambitions, and they formed alliances to counter his growing power. The resulting conflicts tested Demetrius' resolve and exposed the vulnerabilities of the Antigonid dynasty. The lessons of Stratonice. Through it all, the lessons that Demetrius had learned from Stratonice continued to guide him. He remained committed to the principles of resilience, adaptability, and unity that she had embodied throughout her life. Even in the face of setbacks, Demetrius refused to abandon his vision of restoring the Antigonid dynasty to its former glory. As Demetrius' reign unfolded, it became clear that his story was not merely about his own ambitions, but also about the enduring legacy of his mother. Stratonice's influence, though no longer direct, could be seen in the values and strategies that shaped Demetrius' leadership. Her emphasis on fostering loyalty, her dedication to the well-being of her people, and her belief in the power of unity remained central to the Antigonid cause. Demetrius' rise, like that of his father before him, was a testament to the resilience and determination of the Antigonid dynasty. Though the path was fraught with challenges, The lessons of the past and the strength of the family's legacy provided a foundation for hope and perseverance. As Demetrius looked to the future, he carried with him the memory of his mother's unwavering support and the knowledge that even in the darkest times, the dream of the Antigonids could endure. The story of the Antigonid dynasty would have been incomplete without the enduring influence of Stratonice. Even after her physical absence, as Demetrius' reign matured, the lessons imparted by his mother resonated in his decisions, relationships, and vision for the kingdom. Yet the weight of leadership and the ambitions that drove him began to strain not only the dynasty but also the ideals that Stratonice had spent her life cultivating. As Demetrius consolidated his power in Macedonia and the Aegean, the Hellenistic world remained a cauldron of conflict. The coalition of Diadochi, ever wary of his ambitions, launched campaigns to counterbalance his influence. Each war brought new pressures, and while Demetrius excelled in battle, his victories were often short-lived. The persistent opposition from rivals such as Lysimachus, Seleucus, and Ptolemy created an environment of perpetual instability, one that Stratonice herself would have worked to mitigate had she still been alive. Demetrius had inherited much from his parents: Antigonus' military genius and unyielding ambition, and Stratonice's resilience and strategic insight. However, without Stratonice's guiding hand, the balance between these influences sometimes faltered. Demetrius' decisions grew bolder, often bordering on reckless. As he pursued grander visions of empire, he sought to expand his reach across the Aegean, consolidate control over Greece, and even challenge the might of Seleucus in Asia. The strain of these campaigns was felt most acutely within the Antigonid court. The once stable foundation that Stratonice had worked so hard to build began to show cracks under the weight of Demetrius' ambitions. His relentless pursuit of glory often alienated his allies and caused divisions among his advisors. Stratonice's absence as a mediator and unifying force was deeply felt, and her loss became a poignant reminder of the fragility of power when not tempered by wisdom and foresight. The most striking example of these challenges came during Demetrius' campaign in Asia. In an audacious move, he sought to reclaim territories that had once been part of his father's empire. This decision, while bold, exposed the Antigonid dynasty to significant risks. The resources required for such an endeavor stretched the kingdom's economy to its limits, and the strain on its military and administrative systems created vulnerabilities that Demetrius' rivals were quick to exploit. As Demetrius advanced into Asia, he encountered fierce resistance from Seleucus. The resulting conflict was not only a test of military strength, but also a battle of wills between two of the most formidable figures of the Hellenistic age. Demetrius, driven by the legacy of his father and the ideals instilled in him by his mother, fought with determination and ingenuity. Yet the scale of Seleucus' power and the alliances he had forged proved insurmountable. The campaign ended in a devastating defeat for Demetrius. Captured by Seleucus in 285 BCE, he was held as a prisoner of state. The news of his capture sent shockwaves through the Hellenistic world and marked a turning point for the Antigonid dynasty. For Demetrius, the experience was a humbling one, forcing him to reflect on the choices that had led him to this point. The memory of Stratonice and her teachings became a source of solace and inspiration during his captivity. Even in captivity, Demetrius remained a figure of resilience and charisma. He maintained his dignity and continued to engage in correspondence with his family and supporters, working to ensure that the Antigonid dynasty would endure despite his personal misfortunes. Stratonice's influence, though indirect, was evident in his ability to persevere and to maintain hope in the face of adversity. The final years of Demetrius' life were marked by a mixture of reflection and defiance. Released from captivity after several years, he returned to the remnants of his kingdom, determined to rebuild and to pass on the legacy of the Antigonid dynasty to the next generation. His resilience in these later years was a testament to the enduring strength of the values that Stratonice had instilled in him. As Demetrius aged, he began to focus on securing the future of his family and kingdom. his son, Antigonus II Gonatas, emerged as a capable and promising leader, carrying forward the dreams of his grandfather and father. Demetrius worked to prepare Antigonus for the challenges that lay ahead, drawing on the lessons he had learned from his own experiences and from the wisdom of Stratonice. Antigonus II Gonatas would go on to reclaim the throne of Macedonia and to establish a stable and enduring Antigonid dynasty. His reign marked the realization of the vision that Stratonice had nurtured throughout her life, a kingdom that balanced strength with wisdom, unity with diversity, and ambition with resilience. The stability and prosperity of Antigonus II's rule stood as a testament to the foundations laid by Stratonice and the values she had instilled in her family. Stratonice's legacy extended far beyond her own lifetime. She had been the silent architect of the Antigonid dynasty, shaping its leaders, guiding its policies, and fostering a sense of purpose that endured even in the face of adversity. Her contributions, though often overlooked by history, were integral to the survival and success of the Antigonid family. The sunset of Stratonice's influence marked the end of one chapter in the Antigonid story and the beginning of another. Her life was a testament to the power of quiet strength and unwavering dedication, a reminder that the greatest legacies are often those built not on the battlefield but in the hearts and minds of those who carry them forward. As the Antigonid dynasty continued to shape the course of Hellenistic history, Stratonice's spirit remained a guiding force, a beacon of hope and resilience in a world of constant change. Her story, like that of her family, was one of triumph and tragedy, of dreams realized and lost, but above all, of the enduring power of vision and determination. The Antigonid dynasty had weathered storms that would have shattered lesser families. From the towering ambition of Antigonus I Monophthalmus to the tenacity and charisma of Demetrius Poliorcetes, the dynasty stood as a testament to resilience. Yet, as the reign of Antigonus II Gonatas unfolded, it became clear that the true foundation of their strength lay in the quiet wisdom and enduring legacy of Stratonice. Though she had passed into history decades earlier, her influence was woven into the very fabric of the dynasty's survival and resurgence. Antigonus II Gonatas, son of Demetrius and grandson of Antigonus and Stratonice, was a different kind of ruler. While his predecessors had been defined by their bold campaigns and unyielding pursuit of empire, Antigonus II's reign was characterized by prudence, stability, and strategic foresight. He inherited a fractured kingdom, battered by decades of war and internal strife, but he also carried with him the lessons of his family's tumultuous past. In many ways, he embodied the values that Stratonice had championed throughout her life: unity, inclusivity, and the importance of building a strong foundation before reaching for the stars. Under Antigonus II, Macedonia began to heal. The region had been a battleground for generations, its people weary of the endless conflicts that defined the Hellenistic age. Antigonus II prioritized stability over conquest, focusing on consolidating his control over Macedonia and re-establishing it as a center of power in the Greek world. He worked to rebuild the economy, foster trade, and strengthen the kingdom's institutions, creating a sense of order and prosperity that had been absent for decades. One of Antigonus II's most significant achievements was his ability to navigate the complex political landscape of the Hellenistic world. Unlike his father and grandfather, who had sought to dominate through sheer force, Antigonus II relied on diplomacy and alliances to secure his position. He maintained a delicate balance of power with his neighbors, avoiding unnecessary conflicts while ensuring that Macedonia remained a formidable presence. His approach reflected the careful pragmatism that Stratonice had instilled in her descendants, a recognition that survival often depended on knowing when to act and when to wait. Antigonus II's reign also saw the resurgence of Macedonian cultural and intellectual life. Like his grandmother before him, he understood the importance of fostering a sense of identity and pride among his people. He patronized scholars, poets, and philosophers, transforming the Macedonian court into a hub of learning and creativity. This cultural renaissance not only enhanced the kingdom's prestige, but also helped to unify its diverse population under a shared sense of purpose. As Antigonus II strengthened Macedonia's position, he also worked to honor the legacy of his family. He commissioned monuments and inscriptions commemorating the achievements of his predecessors, ensuring that their contributions would not be forgotten. Among these tributes was a statue of Stratonice, erected in the heart of Pella, the Macedonian capital. The statue depicted her not as a queen adorned with symbols of power, but as a figure of wisdom and strength, a reminder of her role as the foundation of the dynasty's success. Stratonice's legacy was not confined to monuments or inscriptions. Her influence lived on in the values and principles that guided the Antigonid dynasty for generations. Her emphasis on unity and inclusivity shaped the policies of her descendants, fostering a sense of cohesion that allowed the dynasty to endure even in the face of adversity. Her belief in the importance of culture and education inspired the intellectual flourishing of the Macedonian court, leaving a lasting mark on the region's history. The Antigonid dynasty would go on to play a central role in the Hellenistic world for more than a century, its fortunes rising and falling with the tides of history. Yet through it all, the lessons of Stratonice remained a guiding force. Her quiet strength, her resilience in the face of adversity, and her unwavering commitment to her family's legacy became the bedrock upon which the Antigonid dynasty was built. As the Hellenistic age gave way to the rise of Rome, the world that Stratonice had known and shaped began to fade into memory. Yet her story endured, passed down through generations as a testament to the power of vision and determination. She was not a conqueror or a warrior, but her influence rivaled that of the greatest generals and kings. In a world defined by chaos and ambition, she had been a force for stability and unity, a beacon of hope in the tumultuous sea of history. In the end, Stratonice's legacy was not just the survival of her family or the achievements of her descendants. It was the enduring idea that true strength lies not in conquest or domination, but in the ability to inspire, to unite, and to build a foundation that can weather the storms of time. Her story, like that of the Antigonid dynasty, was one of resilience, hope, and the enduring power of human determination. And so, as the sun set on the Hellenistic world, the memory of Stratonice remained, a reminder that even in the most turbulent of times, greatness could be forged not through might but through wisdom, courage, and an unyielding belief in the future.